You're here on Enlightened World Network. Let's just start our time together by settling in. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose, hold it for a second or two, and as you release your breath, release any tension in your body and bring yourself present to this moment right here, right now. And take another deep breath in. Hold it again for a moment or two and allow this exhale to just bring you fully here right now. And allow yourself to relax and connect. Let's put our hands together gently and just slowly rub them together. Feel your palms, feel your fingers, and allow this to anchor you into this present moment. Hi, Andrew. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. So today I was thinking about talking about identity because identity is something that's really a construct. So we don't usually realize that. We don't usually take the time to question that or even observe it for ourselves. But what better time than this time of uncertainty where things are in so much flux to check out who we are, who we believe ourselves to be, and maybe embrace the opportunity to remake that, to redefine ourselves. So many of us have been defined by our work or by our bank account or by our families or by other people's perceptions. And let's just take a moment to dig in for a second and uh, see what kinds of ways we identify ourselves. Good morning, Linda. Thanks for joining us. So, identity. I know that for myself, growing up, I had a lot of identities tied to my family and also to feelings of insecurity for myself. So I grew up with ideas of feeling that I was, as an identity, I was a failure. And this it came from so many different places, but it was very deep seated, and there were points in my life where it felt very conscious, where I didn't meet the expectations of my parents, or where maybe I didn't perform as well as I believed I should in school at one time or another. And there was a perpetual reinforcement for myself in my not in my belief about who I was, that was very much connected with this notion of failure. And I think it may also have come from seeing fears expressed by my parents from one time to another. In any case, being able to recognize that that was something that I had identified myself with, I then became able to address it in a proactive way, to start looking at, well, if I believe I'm a failure, I could be finding all kinds of justification for that assessment of myself or that belief in myself. And what happens is that our identities end up being self-perpetuating. So the more I believed I was a failure without really stepping back to challenge that belief, the more I could find justification for that identity. Whenever I would do something, I would be seeing what I could have done better, or what I did incorrectly, or it was sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what I recommend, and what I have employed successfully as a tactic in addressing this kind of thing over the years, is to say, okay, well, what about this? What about this situation where a positive result was created. Uh, and with any belief, the way to challenge a belief is by offering contrary evidence. And beyond the rational, because frankly the belief that I was a failure wasn't rational. It was an emotional response of feeling unworthy and whatever. It was pretty deep, but what we can do. Hi, Linda. Linda's saying she feels like a failure lately, and I think that well, I want to get into how our culture defines success and failure, actually. But what I want to do is invite everybody to be questioning where these feelings come from and what the foundation of the judgment is. But even beyond that, there's an emotional component. And I want to address that too. So, for instance, the part of me that believed I was a failure was a really a wounded little girl. And I, as an adult, know better, but this little girl didn't. And so there's a place of compassion and forgiveness to be able to connect deeply with ourselves and that wounded part of ourselves to to explore how we can help to heal that. So in my case, that little girl just needed to be held and hugged and loved and told how wonderful she was. So this was a self-parenting kind of exercise on my part. Andrew says, so if you need to talk. So it was an exercise, and this has been I'm not experiencing being a failure at this moment and at this point in my life. So thank you if you have a concern around that. I'm just talking about a dynamic that so many of us experience, not necessarily being a failure, but different ideas we might have about ourselves. And to be able to self nurture and to kind of take a meta position, a position, whoops, my eyes are tearing, um, to take a position of observation and to bring forth love and compassion to that part of oneself that feels less than, that feels damaged, that feels hurt. And that's also a big part of the healing process beyond the rational, beyond the observational evidence that proves that our foundation presumption isn't true. So um, let's also talk about getting back to the notion of identity and how this time of uncertainty is challenging so many of our traditional roles. So many of us are identified with our work, and if we're identified with our work and we're not able to work, then who are we? And if we're not able to be productive in the world in the way that we're used to being productive, who are we and what is our value and our worth? And this time is an opportunity to be really creative with this, uh, to look at who am I, who do I choose to be, and one of the biggest contributions I believe that we can make right now is to share love, to share compassion, to share connection, to with ourselves and with others, both. And so remaking ourselves in this moment, we can try new things. We have we have an opportunity now. Many of us have a lot more time, and we have the opportunity to start experiencing new things. So maybe I am creative would be a great thing to start embracing as an identity. Who am I? I am creative. And how do I show my creativity? And the invitation today is to uh, find something new. Find something new to engage in that expands your notion of who you are. And allow yourself maybe even to do some writing, or journaling, or even record some inner musings, to take an opportunity to actively create who you are and who you choose to be in this new world that's emerging and that we get to shape for ourselves and for each other. So that's today's musings. I so appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your comments. And let's use this time to create ourselves and the world anew. So much is changing, so much is uncertain. It's an opportunity for us to bring new life into the world in terms of the way that we uh, exist in our own lives and also in relation to one another. So much love and compassion to you. Hope you'll join me tomorrow. Have a wonderful, creative adventure.